This weekend that the clocks change, but the weather doesn't. We've got loads more rain into next week.
Today at 6, the King's visit to France this weekend is postponed after French unions plan more street protests on pensions. This was to have been the royal couple's first trip abroad since Charles became king, but domestic French politics have intervened. Violent demonstrations this week in Paris and elsewhere over President Macron's plan to raise the pension age without a vote in Parliament.
Et nous manquerions d'un certain bon sens.
We'd have lacked common sense if we'd proposed a state visit of His Majesty the King and the Queen Consort in the midst of the protests.
We'll be looking at how a visit that was meant to celebrate Anglo-French relations has turned into a major embarrassment for France. Also on the programme. School inspections in England will continue, says the head of the watchdog Ofsted, after a head teacher took her own life when her school was downgraded. How a Russian child's drawing against the war in Ukraine saw her taken from her father after her school complained. She hasn't been seen since. And Top Gear is parked up for the foreseeable future. The BBC stops filming the series after presenter Freddie Flintoff had an accident in December.
Coming up on Sports Day, later in the hour on the BBC News channel, we'll look ahead to the start of the Women's Six Nations Championship. Can anyone stop the reigning Grand Slam champions England?
Good evening. It was meant to cement a newly warm Anglo-French relationship, but the planned three-day visit by King Charles and the Queen Consort Camilla to France this weekend has been suspended at the request of President Macron because of escalating protests and some violence over the French government's proposals for pension reform. The trip was due to have been the new king's first visit abroad, but President Macron said that with more protests planned for Tuesday, it would be inappropriate for the royal couple to travel. Mr. Macron's plan to raise the pension age from 62 to 64 has faced stiff opposition. But it was his decision to force through the reforms, bypassing a vote in Parliament, that has caused the storm. From Paris, here's our royal correspondent, Nicholas Witchell.